This is where you see the pinnacle of competition for Canadian universities, and it is because the University of Toronto has been ranked #1 for the past couple of years. It's been very stable in performance, and because of this #1 rank, everyone wants to apply, and you have people applying who have very high grades and very good essays. So the one thing you need to focus on for this application is not essays, it's not grades, it's something else, which I'll talk about in this video. However, I want to touch on the other two first, just to give a bit more context to you guys. In regards to grades, it's very competitive. It's the most competitive you will get. A lot of people do AP and IB. You're looking at an application pool of students with an average of at least 92%, which means your competitive average becomes above like a 95% as more people start applying. So if you have something in the 80s or even worse, the 70s, you need to get your gear together, find some learning styles that work for you, and get up to the 90s if you want to have a shot at getting into the University of Toronto. Now, for written responses, there are lots in this application. You have around 3 to 4 paragraphs for general response questions. And then on top of that, if you want to apply to the awards profile for scholarships, which everyone's probably going to do because we love money, that's another 5 to 6 paragraphs because they do ask you a couple of questions. And for the awards profile, you have to have a reference for each of the responses. So it can be a teacher from school, someone from an organization you volunteered with, but you have to have a reference for that. So that's already around 10 paragraphs you need to do in general. And then on top of that, you have specific program applications. So for example, I got admitted into the Daniels faculty for architecture and the engineering faculty for civil engineering. Now, both of those applications had their own separate specific application process. So for Daniels, of course, first you have to submit a visual portfolio, but you also have to do something called the one idea essay. And my one idea essay was around 7 to 8 paragraphs. So there is a word limit. And then the engineering faculty, they have their own set of specific questions to ask you. So you're looking at another 2 to 3, maybe even 4 paragraphs to add on. And in the end, if you applied to 2 faculties like I did, then that's around 15 to 20 different written responses you need to do, and you have to make sure you don't repeat yourself in any of those. So you might be thinking, okay, so we have marks, we have the written responses. Isn't that the entire application? What is the third point that I'm going to point out? Well, you need something to boost your marks and something to boost your written responses. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a 90 average, which is pretty risky. You have an average of 90%, and you have someone else with an average of 90%. So how do they compare you to? Let's say both of you have similar written responses. Well, they're going to look for the one who does more service, who takes part in more community initiatives and extracurriculars. And that is the one thing you have to focus on for this application. Because grades, again, I'm not going to talk much about them because it's a number. Like, you have to hit that number. For your written responses, in order for you to stand out amongst the thousands of other applicants, you have to plug in your extracurriculars. And for certain applications, like the engineering one, they do have a specific area for you to list down all your extracurriculars, what you did, how many hours you contributed. It is extremely important as a University of Toronto applicant to have lots of extracurriculars and volunteers and services under your belt. There's no way you're going to get in if you haven't volunteered, if you haven't done community service, if you don't take part in school programs or volunteered with your school or done like leadership class or anything. So take this time. I'm uploading this video in August. And so I hope the high schoolers who are entering grade 12 see this and go get their hours, especially now with COVID opening up and more opportunities becoming available. There are lots of ways you could go and volunteer in your community. Go do that. You have to do that. If you don't do that, and if you don't add in the things you've learned from volunteering at the library or cleaning up a park, then your written response will look terrible amongst the other ones. Again, just because everyone is a really good student. You have AP and IB level people. They're going to use their AP and IB level English skills to write their essays, and then almost everyone is going to get their teachers to read over and help them edit their essay. So everyone's going to be submitting great essays, and the only way you can stand out is if you have more extracurriculars. So that is the end of this video. That is the 1 point that you need to focus on for the University of Toronto application. All right, I'll see you next time.